Saint Thomas Aquinas, Commentary on the Creed. Prologue. What is faith? The nature and effects of faith. The first thing that is necessary for every Christian is faith, without which no one is truly called a Christian faithful. Faith brings about four good effects. The first is that through faith, the soul is united to God, and by it there is between the soul and God a union akin to marriage. I will espouse you in faith. Hosea chapter 2 verse 20. When a man is baptized, the first question that is asked him is, "Do you believe in God?" This is because baptism is the first sacrament of faith. Hence, the Lord said, "He who believes and is baptized shall be saved." Mark chapter 16, verse 16. Baptism without faith is of no value. Indeed, it must be known that no one is acceptable before God unless we have faith. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. Saint Augustine explains these words of Saint Paul: "All that is not of faith is sin." Romans chapter 14, verse 23. In this way, where there is no knowledge of the eternal and unchanging truth, virtue, even in the midst of the best moral life, is false. The second effect of faith is that eternal life is already begun in us. For eternal life is nothing else than knowing God. This the Lord announced when he said, "This is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you sent." John chapter 17, verse 3. This knowledge of God begins here through faith, but it is perfected, the future life, when we shall know God as He is. Therefore, St. Paul says, faith is the substance of things to be hoped for. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. No one then can arrive at perfect happiness of heaven, which is the true knowledge of God, unless first he knows God through faith. Blessed are they who have not seen and have believed. John chapter 20, verse 29. The third good thing that comes from faith is that right direction which it gives to our present life. Now, in order that one live a good life, it is necessary that he know what is necessary to live rightly. And if he depends of all this required knowledge on his own efforts alone, either he will never attain such knowledge, or if so, only after a long time. But faith teaches us all that is necessary to live a good life. It teaches us that there is one God who is the rewarder of good and the punisher of evil, that there is a life other than this one, and other like truth whereby we are attracted to live rightly and to avoid what evil. The just man lives by faith. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 4. This is evident in that no one of the philosophers before the coming of Christ could, through his own powers, know God and the means necessary for salvation, as well as any old woman since Christ's coming knows him through faith. And therefore it is said in Isaiah that the earth is filled with the knowledge of the Lord. Chapter 11, verse 9. The fourth effect of faith is that by it we overcome temptations. The holy ones by faith conquered kingdoms. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 33. We know that every temptation is either from the world or the flesh or the devil. The devil would have us disobey God and not be subject to him. This is removed by faith, since through it we know that he is the Lord of all things and must therefore be obeyed. Your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, goes about seeking whom he may devour. Resist him strong in faith. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. The world tempts us either by attaching us to it in prosperity or by filling us with fear of adversity. But faith overcomes this in that we believe in a life to come better than this one, and hence we despise the riches of this world, and we are not terrified in the face of adversity. This is the victory which overcomes the world, our faith. 1 John chapter 5, verse 4. The flesh, however, tempts us by attracting us to the swiftly passing pleasures of this present life. But faith shows us that if we cling to these things inordinately, we shall lose eternal joys. In all things, taking the shield of faith. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 16. We see from this that it is very necessary to have faith. The evidence of things that appear not. But someone will say that it is foolish to believe what is not seen, and that one should not believe in things that he can't see. I answer by saying that the imperfect nature of our intellect takes away the basis of this difficulty. For if man of himself could, in a perfect manner, know all things visible and invisible, it would indeed be foolish to believe what he does not see. But our manner of knowing is so weak that no philosopher could perfectly investigate the nature of even one little fly. We even read that a certain philosopher spent 30 years in solitude in order to know the nature of the bee. If therefore our intellect is so weak, it is foolish to be willing to believe concerning God only that which man can know by himself alone. And against this is the word of Job, Behold, God is great, exceeding our knowledge. Job chapter 36, verse 26. One can also answer this question by supposing that a certain master had said something concerning his own special branch of knowledge, and some uneducated person would contradict him for no other reason than that he could not understand what the master said. Such a person would be considered very foolish. So, the intellect of the angels as greatly exceeds the intellect of the greatest philosopher, as much as that of the greatest philosopher exceeds the intellect of the uneducated man. Therefore, the philosopher is foolish if he refuses to believe what an angel says, and far greater fool to refuse to believe what God says. Against such are these words, for many things are shown to you above the understanding of man. Sirach chapter 3, verse 25. Then again, If one were willing to believe only those things which one knows with certitude, one could not live in this world. How could one live unless one believed others? How could one know that this man is one's own father? Therefore, it is necessary that one believe others in matters which one can't know perfectly for oneself. But no one is so worthy of belief as is God, and hence they who do not believe the words of faith are not wise, but foolish and proud. As the Apostle says, he is proud, knowing nothing. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 4. And also, I, not wise, but foolish and proud. As the Apostle says, he is proud, knowing nothing. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 4. And also, I know whom I have believed, and I am certain. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 12. And it is written, you who fear the Lord, believe him, and your reward shall not be made void. Sirach chapter 2, verse 8. Finally, one can say also that God proves the truth of the things which faith teaches. Thus, if a king sends letters signed with his seal, no one would dare to say that those letters did not represent the will of the king. In like manner, everything that the saints believed and handed down to us concerning the faith of Christ is signed with the seal of God. This seal consists of those works which no mere creature could accomplish. There are the miracles by which Christ confirmed the sayings of the apostles and of the saints.